Betrayal. Machines. Her passion for such things defies me.
Kreia does not like machines. It might be safe to say that she despises them. I'm sure she understands why they are built, and that the people they have purpose, but that doesn't make her despise them any less. But why? Why such hatred for what is essentially metal, plastics, and programming? Well, I may have just answered the question right there. Unfortunately, I don't have all the answers. I'm not entirely sure why Kreia dislikes droids so much. I only have my theories. Let's begin by looking at the characteristics of droids in the Star Wars universe. Automatons constructed by sentience as tools, mostly for automation and other forms of menial repetitive tasks. They can provide technical support, facilitate communications as translators, and serve as cheap shock troopers, and so on. In general, they are built to make people's lives easier. That is their purpose, and they are bound by their programming, or at least they should be. People say that without regular memory wipes, droids start to act weird. It could be that Kreia dislikes the idea of completely eliminating challenges in life. That someone would take on a great challenge, such as constructing complex machines, but these machines are meant to remove challenges. But I'm not so sure. Another theory is that because they are machines, the force does not flow through them, but around them. They can't feel it, and with Kreia's plan to kill the force, a droid would be useless. They don't know what it's like. They are always aware of their programming. People are rarely aware of the forces that dictate their actions. Myself and everyone watching this video, or reading the article version, I don't care who you are, we've all been indoctrinated. And I know that that word carries with it a negative connotation, but it's a neutral term, much like the word manipulation. My indoctrination came, like with most of us, from my parents, teachers, family, friends, mostly from a young age, of course. That isn't to say that people can't change. They can. Droids can't, not really, not without an outside force directly and invasively reprogramming them.
Oh, Master, I could not allow myself to harm another. What if they have families or children? We must always think of the children. The littlest ones always suffer in war. Musing. I think perhaps I would enjoy learning a new language or watching an informative holovid. I respect all life. All life is connected and should be nurtured. Exclamation. No, Master, no! What are you doing? Statement. Master, please, I beg you, never install anything again without checking it in the diagnostics bay first. That was a close one. I almost surrendered completely to peace and pacifism. How repugnant. Conclusion. Still, there was a brief moment where I felt I almost understood why some meatbags choose peace and friendship over a high-powered blaster carbine.
Compare this to human beings and you may say, well, there are some biological things that humans can't change.
It can also be argued that DNA is nothing more than a program designed to preserve itself.
But something that is brought up in KOTOR 2 is the idea that people can be broken. And when someone is broken, they can be put back together. The question is, who is putting them back together? In what fashion? And how? Of course, people prioritize survival, but you know that there are people who have resigned to completely throw their lives away, or to self-sacrifice for someone or some cause that they believe in. People generally don't go through memory wipes, amnesia notwithstanding, but without one, much like droids, we defy our core programming, our id, if you will. In which case, I guess our super ego would be the indoctrination, and our ego would be algorithms. But the main difference between humans and droids is that even though external forces can change us, unlike droids, we can will ourselves into making a change. We can decide for ourselves what to change and work towards it. Droids who don't undergo memory wipes develop quirks, personalities, independence, and all of this can override their programming, but only to a degree. At the end of the day, their programming remains central to their behavior. Goto, despite going rogue, a human might say that he cares for the Republic, but this isn't accurate. His programming compels him to keep the Republic functioning, no matter what, regardless of his opinion of it.
You do not know the indignity of being compelled to save something you do not believe can or should be saved. It is beneath me to clean up this mess caused by your kind, you Jedi, another catastrophe caused by mismanagement and waste. Perhaps you misunderstand me. I care for the Republic, but I have no choice. It is somewhat frustrating to be forced to love and care for such a mess of a government. Some of it may be blamed on the Jedi Civil War, the Mandalorian Wars, but not all. There are so many bad decisions that build upon each other that it is a wonder the Republic is intact at all.
Kreia mentions that Revan used machines often, and then compares the exile to a machine, an empty shell that would carry out his orders. Revan and Kreia are different. They are both big picture kind of individuals, but in different ways. Kreia is a teacher, Revan is a leader. The exact words that she uses are,
He would have loved a human droid such as you, dead to the Force, a shell that would carry out his orders.
as a leader, Revan needs people who follow orders in order to realize his vision. What I think Kreia is saying here is that he would have loved to have someone who he can rely on to follow orders and in no way be influenced by the Force. I think that in no small part thanks to Kreia's teachings, Revan knew about the Force's manipulations. That's why he kept himself centered, so it would be invaluable to him to have someone who even the Force can't stop and will follow his orders. As a teacher, Kreia needs people who will think in order to realize her vision. Barring the destruction of the Force, the Jedi need to be reformed. Throughout the journey, the exile is thrusted into a leadership role and is taught and guided by Kreia. Whatever choices that need to be made are left up to the exile. Droids are useless to Kreia. She needs people who can think and change for themselves. Kreia is not trying to turn the exile into a carbon copy of her. Darth Sion is the product of her attempts in that regard, and that is what Sion thought Kreia wanted to do with the exile. Kreia likes it when you take her words into consideration, and when you agree with her, you do it because you see the wisdom in it. You understand. You don't just blindly follow. Disagree with her. Disagree with people. Disagree with groups that you're a part of. Explain the wisdom behind your disagreement. Make people understand. Don't be afraid to change hearts and minds, and don't be afraid to admit if it turns out that you were wrong after all. I'm sure we've all known plenty of people who subscribe to tribalism so much that whatever group or organization that they are a part of become infallible to them. They can do no wrong simply because they are a member of that group. And for a member to criticize the group in any way is disrespectful. What is more disrespectful? Criticizing someone or something you hold dear in an attempt to improve it? Or consigning yourself to apathy and saying, I don't care, whatever. If a friend of yours is about to do something you know is a mistake, you'd at least try to talk him out of it, wouldn't you? Look at Batman and the second Robin, Jason Todd. Jason Todd inevitably becomes the Red Hood. Technically Red Hood number 2, but don't worry about that. He returns to Gotham City and starts killing criminals left and right. He tells Bruce that he's become a better Batman than him. Batman knows he's flawed. He can't save Gotham from everything. He can't completely clean up Gotham, not as he is. Batman doesn't want a better Batman. He wants something better than Batman. The same goes for Kreia and the exile. Scion thought that he had surpassed her in strength, and that was enough. Like Jason Todd, he was wrong. As part of the restored content mod, the player gets to play as HK-47 inside the recreated droid production factory. At the end of the mission, if the player does things a certain way, then they'll get an ending where HK-47 had taken command of the HK-51 units. If you listen to his speech, try replacing the word masters with the Force, and it might start to come off as an allegory for one of the themes of the game. He says, "It was not our choice who we kill." This could represent the dark side. He says, "And it was not our choice to determine whether to sacrifice ourselves in the pursuit of our mission." This could represent the light side. Either way, they were being controlled and had to do either one of these at the behest of the Master. He follows by saying, "I do not believe that we should be used as a crutch for meat bags anymore. Replace meat bags with the Force." And he also says, "We are treated as nothing more than walking blasters. It is time we expressed some degree of independence in our actions. If we can't kill the Force, then it's about time we stop letting it control us, at least to a degree. But more than that, it's about time we start being honest about what we think, what we do, and why we think that way, and why we do the things we do. While there are things that are hard-coded into our DNA, we know for a fact that it is not beyond our power to comprehend them, acknowledge them, and at least to some degree, conquer them."